Hey everyone, Doug Kenny here. We welcome you to Stories from Motorsports. I'm with my co-host Justin, and our guest today is Bob Pockrass. Hey Bob, how you doing?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
Doing fabulous. How you doing, Justin?
Doing well, Doug. Let's get this going.
Definitely. So, fire away with questions, Justin.
All right, Bob. So, the next gen testing, what have you thought of it so far?
Well, a new car is a work in progress, Justin, right? Whenever you build something new, you're going to have things to work on. And they originally had things like heat issues and steering rack issues that they've worked on and have seemed to get a hold of. And now it's trying to figure out how the car is going to race. And I think what they saw in Charlotte, they weren't the most happy with a couple of weeks ago, so they're going to go back to Charlotte in a few weeks to test and see if they can, will they change the horsepower a little bit? Maybe. Will they add some wicker bills? Maybe. All sorts of things that they'll be looking at over the next couple of weeks to try to make sure that if you catch the leader, that you're going to be able to pass the leader.
Awesome. So, Bob, I have to ask, what did you think of the season as a whole?
Well, I thought it was a great season in a lot of ways. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of drama. And then you get to the final race at Phoenix, and each of the four finalists had a shot to win that race, right? Like there were times where you thought Chase Elliott, your man with the 9, you can see he's your guy with the 9 hat. You thought there was a chance he was going to win it. And then you thought, Hamlin might have a shot. And then you thought, Truex is in good position. And for a long time, you didn't think Larson had a shot. And then there he goes. The last pit stop, gets out front. And you're like, the guy who we thought all along was going to win it going into the final race is going to win it. So I thought it was an exciting finish. And obviously a lot of drama along the way. You had the Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick dust-ups. You had Denny Hamlin and Alex Bowman at Martinsville. Just a lot of different things to watch during this year.
Yeah, that was a really terrific season, I thought. I'm a big Larson fan, so that's part of it. But yeah, it's been a while since we had multiple feuds in a chase, don't you think? A little bit, or has that happened often?
I mean, I don't think we've seen a feud of like old versus young very much. I mean, you had Hamlin and Chase there. I don't know whether I'd consider Kyle Busch versus Chase as old versus new, because I still consider Kyle Busch, he's not old, he's just middle age for a NASCAR driver. But to have Harvick versus Chase and then Hamlin versus Bowman, those are both kind of old versus young type rivalries.
Yeah, and I have not seen Kevin that mad in many years, because he seemed mellow the past few years, so that took me off guard a bit. But the intensity of the chase, Yeah, and obviously Kevin had a great year, and he said that he can't remember a time where he was that mad. So I think it showed that Kevin still has the passion for sure. Yeah. So what made you get into racing, Bob?
Well, I grew up in Indianapolis, so I moved to Indianapolis when I was 10. So I've followed the Indy 500 since I was a teenager, really, and I worked for the Daytona newspaper for 12 years, from 1991 to 2003, and you can't live in Daytona without getting a little bit of racing, right? So, so I think it just been exposed to it virtually all my life, and so it just seemed kind of natural to continue covering it as the opportunities came up for me.
When did you get your big break as a journalist, if you had to think?
Well, I guess if you look at NASCAR, you would say going to NASCAR Scene magazine in 2003. I was working for the Daytona paper, covering a variety of sports from 91 to 2003. And then 2003, I went to NASCAR Scene magazine, and that kind of was when I was able to kind of follow NASCAR on a full-time basis.
Really cool. That sounds like you had a lot of fun doing that.
When did you get your big break with Fox?
For Fox was a few years ago in 2019. It's when I started at Fox. I worked at the NASCAR Scene and the Scene Daily website. Then got moved over to the Sporting News, which is also owned by the same people after the Scene stuff was shut down. And then I went to ESPN from 2015 to 2018, and then was picked up by Fox starting in 2019. So it's been a great 3 years, and hoping for many more.
That's really cool. You don't have to answer this if you don't wish, but what happened at Dover in 2012 between you and Kurt Busch?
I mean, I think, that was, man, it's hard to believe that was almost 10 years ago now. But, I mean, it's pretty simple. He had given a TV interview where he had talked about being tentative racing. And, and so after that TV interview, I wanted to follow up and ask him, whether being on probation was why he was tentative. And he said, well, he said something about, I guess we didn't use the word tentative. I'm trying to remember what word he said. But whatever, he said that he was going to kick my ass. So, or he said being on probation is keeping him from kicking my ass. So then, of course, he got suspended for a week, which I did not lobby for. I had told NASCAR that I did not feel threatened. Didn't feel like, that, I told them, I said, wait, if you're concerned about him threatening me, I didn't feel threatened. Now, if you feel like you need to discipline him because that's not the way you talk to reporters, then that's your business. But I didn't really advocate for any penalty or anything like that. But I think it happens between reporters and drivers, and reporters and crew chiefs, and reporters and owners. You're not always going to see eye to eye, and that one was just escalated a little bit. There was a TV camera there, and so it happened. So that's it's one of those things. You never like to be part of the news, but when you're around it and you're in the mix, sometimes that stuff happens.
Yeah.